Hi, NASCAR fans. Welcome to this edition of our live NASCAR race rewind with Charlie Turner, myself, Charlie Turner, and Dan Beaver. Dan joins me from sunny Texas. How are you, Dan?
Doing great. Not so sunny today, but
No?
Texas anyway.
Well, there you go. What'd you think of the big road race, the first road course race in the Sprint Cup Series this year, following the Nationwide Series race at Road America on Saturday?
I thought both of them were extremely interesting. They both had some pretty good storylines. Road course racing's become very confusing. You've got divergent strategies. They all come together at the end, and it's amazing how two-stop strategies, three-stop strategies, four-stop strategies, all of them had their merits, and all of them wound up with drivers in the top five. It's um, uh, it's hard to predict, but it's one of those things that makes it fun to watch.
Well, Carl Edwards was our winner, and I guess this is maybe Carl's going away present to to Jack Roush, if the rumors prove to be true that he's heading over to Joe Gibbs Racing for next year. Carl Edwards first in the number 99 Roush Ford. Jeff Gordon was second. Dale Earnhardt Jr. continuing, both Gordon and Jr. continuing their terrific first half of 2014. Jr. was third. Jamie McMurray fourth after running up front for a lot of the race, qualifying on the pole. Paul Menard fifth. Other than Edwards, another Chevy sweep of the top five.
Yeah, but other than Gordon, a lot of surprises in the top five.
Yeah.
Edwards, not particularly strong road course racer, proved what benefit track position had. McMurray is a good road course racer, but he hasn't been getting the finishes. I said to avoid him last week,
Right.
after we talked fantasy, and I think I said that even after he won the pole. I went on record saying, okay, bank those points if you're in the Yahoo game, and don't even think about starting him, because I expected him to fall back to 20th, or something to happen to make him drop back to 20th, and he didn't. He was one of the most dominant drivers of the race. Earnhardt certainly isn't considered a road course ringer. Doesn't like road course racing, and
Yeah, but for somebody who doesn't like it, he's really not bad.
he's not. He tends to be better, and I think he tends to be a little bit better at Sonoma than at Watkins Glen. Although that hasn't really proved out over the last couple of seasons. And then Menard, first time in his career that he's posted back-to-back top five finishes. So just a nice assortment of different drivers at the front of the field. And the only one that really should have been there, based on their experience and their stats, was Jeff Gordon.
And then in the second five and the rest of the top 10, rounding it out, Casey Kane was sixth. Jimmy Johnson, no surprise, seventh place, except maybe that he finished that far back. Marcus Ambrose, eighth after leading 5 laps during the race and looking like he might be a contender again on the road course. Greg Biffle in ninth, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. And then Clint Boyer rounded out the top 10, finishing 10th. And Clint had a good day running up front as well.
He did, and probably should have contended for the win, if not for the incident in the hairpin where cut down a tire. Jamie McMurray was right on his back bumper. McMurray finished him off and took. It looked like he had taken out both Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick, who was running back behind those guys at the time. The fact that Boyer's team could make repairs good enough to get him back so that he could charge back to the top 10 was remarkable. It showed just how strong that car was. And if he hadn't been involved in that incident, I think it would have been him and Jeff Gordon who were battling for the win if they could have caught Carl Edwards. Then again, those two battling might have given Edwards an even bigger margin of victory, since he was if he'd managed to get ahead of those guys. So I think the biggest storyline out of there probably was Clint Boyer. The second biggest storyline might have been Marcus Ambrose, who we say struggled to an 8th place finish, but how do you say that a driver who finishes in the top 10 in a NASCAR Cup race really
Yeah,
struggled?
that's right. Yeah, it's tough. I'm probably being a little hard on him there, but and a top 10 finish for that team is a terrific finish no matter where they do it.
It is, but you do expect them to finish in the top five, and now this is their third consecutive seventh or eighth place finish at Sonoma. So going to Watkins Glen, he wrecked last year. The pressure's got to be on even more than it would have been otherwise. So that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch. He's got to think that if he's going to make the chase, these are his two opportunities. One was wasted this week. Then again, if he makes the chase, probably won't be relevant beyond the first segment of the first three races of the chase. So it may not make that much difference, but you still, if there's a dance, you want to be part of it.
Matt Kenseth finished 42nd out of 43 cars in this race, and Matt's not certainly not considered a road course racer, but 42nd place finish has got to be a big disappointment for that team.
By itself, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't think, but on the heels of everything else that's happened,
right?
It's got to look like a microcosm of their season. They were running about 15th at the time. They were running with Dale Earnhardt Jr., who went on to finish third. So the same thing could have happened to them if they'd gotten fresh tires late in the race. And it's the first time tires have made a difference there in I don't know how long. But then running along, minding his own business, and then just suddenly turned right into the tire barrier. That just speaks to his season. And now we're into the final 10 races of the regular season. That clock is ticking louder and louder and louder. It may not matter. I don't think we're going to get to 16 winners. He's probably going to be high enough in the points that no matter what the mark is, he'll get in there based on points. But he definitely wants a win before the regular season's out. I think one of the other biggest stories out of the race, though, before we go too far beyond that McMurray Boyer Harvick incident, was Harvick being involved in it. Another bad pit stop. He came on radio complaining about it, really disappointed in what had happened in the pits, how slow it was, and somehow just seemed to know that it put him back there racing with the squirrels and that something bad was going to happen. A couple of laps later, I think it was 3 or 4 laps later, here he is, piling into Clint Boyer, who got turned out of a top 5 position, or a top 10 position. I'm not sure where they were running exactly at the time. And if Stewart-Haas cannot fix those problems, it's going to be difficult for them to develop that powerhouse status that they want.
Yeah, it seems to be a weekly occurrence, not just in the 4 team, but there are other players in that foursome that have issues as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Real quick shout out to the rookies. The top finishing rookie was Austin Dillon, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought maybe one of the other guys would get up there, but Austin managed to keep his nose clean and run to a 17th place finish. Any surprises in the rookie group? Most of them finished bottom 30, I think.
No real surprises. Larson was a huge surprise at the beginning of the race before he lost his
he ran well early.
He ran great and probably would have scored a top 10 finish in his inaugural Cup Road race if it hadn't been for that power steering problem. So I think he was a surprise, mostly because we've spent the last couple of weeks talking about how he can't shift. Chevrolet gave him a special Corvette, loaned him a Corvette with manual transmission so that he could get used to it. And
see, they should have given him a pickup truck or something.
Yeah. And then Larson also won the K&N West race the day before. So I don't think we have to worry about him in any scenario from here to the end of the season.
Yeah, he's the real deal, and I look for him to win at least a race before this thing's over with. I think
we're all going to be surprised if he doesn't. Yeah. I'm going to be a little surprised if he doesn't make the chase at this stage, unless he just really falls apart in this next 10 race stage. He should make the chase as a rookie, unless we rattle off some unique winners at Watkins Glen, at Daytona a little bit later, and then get some of those guys like Kenseth, who hasn't won, that should get wins on unrestricted intermediate speedways, and close that opportunity of what you can do to get in on points. I'm just gonna be shocked if he's not one of those one of the guys that gets in by points.
You know, Larson has shown, I think, everything that he needs to show that he's capable of doing what it takes to get that car into the chase, whether it's winning a race or just consistently finishing up front. The test probably is on Chip Ganassi Racing, whether or not they can keep it together and keep those smooth pit stops going, keep the kid, you know, in the right equipment with the right calls. And if they don't mess it up, I think you're right. I think he is a chaser when this is all over.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't think Larson has anything else singularly to prove. He's got to prove it cumulatively now. He's got to keep getting back-to-back top 10s, back-to-back top 15s. He's got to keep running consistently. He has made mistakes, and you expect that from a rookie. He's got to start making fewer mistakes. And next year, we could be talking about him as a title contender.
Yeah.
And it's hype, maybe. It's bandwagon jumping, maybe. Or it's precognition. I mean, there's nothing really bad to say about him.
Nope. That's a good way for us to end it, I think, this week for our weekly NASCAR Race Rewind. This one from Sonoma, California, and the Toyota Save Mart 350. I'm Charlie Turner. I'm joined by Dan Beaver every week. Look for us on our new project, On Pit Row Magazine. This video will be in that next magazine, and we look forward to telling you more about that on the NASCAR Hangout with Steve and Beth Ann a little bit later. So thanks, Dan. Talk to you soon.
I'll be here.
All right.
Literally.
Yeah.